So what's up, guys? It's your boy OT and welcome to Steady Bro. In this video, we will be looking at heart blocks. Last week, we looked at the basic physiology of the heart, how to calculate the rate, how to assess the rhythm. If you haven't seen this video, you can go check it out for a quick recap. Now back to today's business. A heart block on an ECG trace tells us that there is something slowing down the flow of currents on the conductive highway of the heart. This delay or this slowing down can occur at the AV node, that's the atrioventricular node, bundle of His, or the bundle branches. There are three shades of heart blocks: first degree, second degree, and third degree. But before we go there, there is something about the basic pattern of an ECG we need to address first. On an ECG, in addition to the waves we see, being in the P wave, the QRS complex, and the T wave, the gaps between the waves and the time it takes for these gaps to occur also tells us a story about the heart. For the purposes of this video, we will look at the PR interval, which in physiological terms is the time it takes for the atria to depolarize and also for this electrical impulse to go through the AV node. With that being the case, this is measured from the beginning of the P wave to the beginning of the QRS complex. There is a fixed time this is meant to take. For a PR interval to be normal, it should not be above 200 milliseconds or below 120 milliseconds. I guess you just ask yourself this question: how on earth am I supposed to know how long it took for this impulse to take place? Now, this is how you do it. On an ECG paper, on an ECG graph, yeah? You see there are small boxes and big boxes. Each small box represents 40 milliseconds. And there are 5 small boxes in a big box. Therefore, one big box is 40 times 5, which should give us around 200 milliseconds. And as I said, a PR interval to be normal should not be above 200 milliseconds, i.e. it shouldn't be longer than one big box. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's look at first degree heart block. In the first degree heart block, there is a delay of the electrical impulse when going through the AV node. This results in a prolonged PR interval, meaning the PR interval in the first degree heart block is longer than 200 milliseconds. There is a QRS complex following each P wave, and the length of the PR interval is constant, like so. Now, a second degree heart block. You see, when it comes to second degree heart blocks, there are 2 shades of it, right? 2 subtypes. You have Morbitz type 1, you have Morbitz type 2. I think Morbitz type 1 is also called Wenckebach. Now, let's try to differentiate between the two. In the Morbitz type 1, you have your electrical impulse moving from the sinoatrial node through the AV node, right? But the PR interval might start normal, but with each subsequent cardiac cycle, it might start off like this in the first beat, then go to this, go to that, and go to that. So it keeps getting longer with each heartbeat until it gets to a point where the electrical impulse is not able to go through the AV node, all right? And therefore, you drop a heartbeat. You see this on the ECG trace by the lack of a QRS complex following the last P wave. So you'll have a normal P wave, then, so let's say, normal P wave, PR interval is like this, yeah? Another P wave, then the PR interval elongates. Another P wave, the PR interval elongates. There's another P wave, and there is no QRS complex. That is Morbitz type 1. And this is how it looks like. In Morbitz type 2, the ability of the electrical impulse to go through the AV node is random. However, when the electrical impulse from the sinoatrial node is able to go through the atria and go through the AV node, the PR interval is constant. It does not prolong like Morbitz type 1. So there might be P waves without QRS complexes, but when there is a QRS complex, the PR interval is the same for every other one you see on the ECG trace. This is how a Morbitz type 2 looks like. Third-degree heart block, this is an absolute no-show. This is because there is no relationship between the atria and the ventricles. They just beat without regards to each other. So the atria just depolarizes independently and the ventricles depolarizes independently. So when you look at this on an ECG trace, you will see P waves without any QRS complexes, and you might see some QRS complexes without any P waves. But the interesting thing is the distance between each P wave when it does occur is regular, and the distance between each QRS complex is regular. That means they are beating independently of each other, but they are regular. And this is how a third-degree heart block looks like on an ECG trace. So that is it for today, guys. I hope you found something useful out of this video, right? If there's something you think I can improve to make things a bit simpler and more clear, just say that in the comments and I'll be happy to do so. If you haven't seen the first video on the basic physiology, link up there, link below, go check it out. And yeah, see you on the next one. Salutes.